Mr. Paul Griffiths, who you all know, our CEO, and Mr. Jamal Al-Hay, who's the Deputy CEO of Dubai Airports. And Paul is going to talk to you about all the news that we have at Dubai Airports. And Mr. Jamal Al-Hay will also speak in Arabic towards the same subject.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to see so many of you here. And I think since the developments of last year, our traffic growth has been very significant. And I'm very pleased now that there's such a great deal of interest in our airports, our traffic, the contribution we make both to the social and economic development of Dubai. So that's a very positive message, and thank you very much indeed for your support. Now, I'm presuming that actually you would probably like to hear the minimal amount from me and would rather ask some questions at the end. So what I'll do is I'll run through a very brief presentation, if I may, of just a few updates on the world of Dubai airports, and then I'll be very pleased to take any questions you may have at the end. I'd like this to be fairly informal, so I won't sit behind this desk the whole time. I shall come and rove a bit if you can hear me okay. Usually people say my voice is loud enough without the benefit of a microphone, so if I can't be heard at the back, please do just raise your hand. Thank you very much. What I'd like to talk about is the developments that we've seen over the last year that have really transformed Dubai Airports into the organisation it is today. Now that's a lot of figures and statistics, but I want to really emphasise that actually represented by Anita and Jamal here, this is a people business. We're in the business of serving people, and it's people actually making that happen. So our people, our technology, the things, our infrastructure, the other things that we do are incredibly important, but actually it's my team that I think needs to take the credit for what we've achieved thus far. First of all, of course, everyone knows that air travel is a global industry. Statistics indicate that 98% of you came here by air and used our airports. So, of course, global travel, which has become affordable now for vast sectors of the population, remains an incredibly buoyant industry. 3.3 billion people every year now travel the globe, and that is, on average, every single person now takes an international flight every 2 years. When you consider the size of the world's population, that's an enormous number. But of course, against that background, the world is changing quite dramatically. There have been massive demographic shifts that used to take hundreds, if not thousands of years to achieve. Now, because of technology and communications being what it is, those shifts are happening in a decade that used to take hundreds of years to achieve. Changes in the way that we live are also happening. The growth of urbanisation is a massive social phenomenon, with more people gravitating towards cities. Climate change and resource scarcity is becoming a major topic of concern. And of course, technological breakthroughs are making the world we live in a very different place from the world that our parents and those before them inhabited. And rising incomes across the world are driving an enormous increase in mobility. The global middle class prediction for 2030 shows some massive growth, and you can see on that chart there the massive growth of the middle class with disposable income in the Asia-Pacific region as well as Africa. The mature markets like Europe, North America, minimal growth, so the big opportunity lies within this region, and what better place to be than right here, being able to connect the mature economies in the West with the rising economies in the East. We are in a massive global hub of the world, and that's a fantastic place to be, both for the present and for the future. And if you look at passenger demand and what this translates into, within the next 20 years, demand for air travel is set to double. And the growth and change in passenger journeys by region, of course, rides on the back of that economic prosperity. So you've got, for example here, in the Asia-Pacific region, growing at more than 3 times the number of travellers increasing from Europe, 591 million in Europe, 1.7 million 1.7 billion from the Asia Pacific region. So a massive opportunity for Dubai to continue to be the intercontinental hub that it's established today. So we are incredibly well positioned. 2/3 of the world's population within 8 hours flying time of Dubai, and 1/3 within 4 hours. And of course we have a very progressive view, really buoyed by our position in the region as a centre of political and economic stability. Of course we've established a massive, extensive foreign trade network with so many countries around the world. State-of-the-art telecommunications underpins all of that. We now have a world-class business and tourism destination, a business-friendly environment. So many people from so many places around the world find it easy to do business here, and people are welcome to set up business and to come here for tourism and leisure. That's underpinned by an open skies agreement that was established in 1960 and has been the fundamental plank on which our entire aviation business here is built. And of course, this top-flight infrastructure beyond the airport sector exists in so many different sectors of commerce throughout Dubai, and we are incredibly competitive as a global force in the rates that are charged and the tariffs that are applied. And of course, the taxation regime here is very liberal indeed. And I think to top it all, we have really focused, coordinated leadership from the very top of the country that's incredibly supportive of the growth of our infrastructure and our aviation business here in Dubai. Now, as far as Dubai International is concerned, you will have all seen the news, and many people have repeated around the world that in 1993 we were 44th in the world for international passenger traffic, and no one would ever believe that we'd rise up in the ranks really, really quickly, and by 2014 became, with 70.4 million passengers, the world's #1 international airport. And of course, an average day at DXB, as many of you will know, will see 192,000 people come through our airport on 980 different flights. And we have another world record, and that is 208 people per flight. Makes us also the most efficient airport in the world because we get the maximum number of people per runway movement. Passenger traffic in March was up 7.2% to 6.73 million. And in Q1, the total now has become 19.6 million, which is up 6.8%. So we're on track to achieve our end of year projection of 78 million passengers. Cargo traffic, March 216,879 tonnes, and that is down 4.9%, but that's great news. Now, why should a reduction in cargo tonnage be good news? That is because our strategy of starting to migrate our cargo traffic and our cargo operators, including Emirates Sky Cargo, to Dubai World Central is working. We now have 24 cargo airlines that take huge numbers of containers and different goods, services, industrial equipment out of DWC. And DWC itself is rising in the ranks of air cargo hubs worldwide. Q1, 3.1% down, 594,000 tonnes. And year to date, an average day, 220,000 passengers is what we're getting through the airport now. 1,067 passenger flights, so an increase over where we were, and now 205 passengers per flight, roughly the same as we experienced last year. Now, of course, development is continuing. How do we fund this growth? We clearly need to continue to build infrastructure. In 2009, we put together a program called SP 2020, which describes $7.8 billion of investment into the airport infrastructure. And many of you will have seen slowly taking shape Concourse D. And the strategic plan for 2020 included creating this magnificent new terminal, which I think will be one of our best yet. We are entering the final phases of construction of that terminal. We hope to accept it from the contractor within the next few weeks. We will then start exhaustive testing to make sure the quality and functionality of the terminal is up to expectations, and when that's done, we do hope that those of you in this room and the many thousands of people outside will be early trialists of this magnificent new facility. There's lots of new innovation coming up, some very great brands, many of which will be premiering in the airport space in Concourse D. It's the final stage of this $7.8 billion investment program. It will be home for 18 million passengers a year, 65,000 square meters of brand new terminal space and 32 gates, 21 contact stands and 11 remotes. So hopefully the percentage of aircraft that will be on gates rather than on remotes will increase. And it's all going to be linked to Terminal 1, where you will check in for Concourse D by an elevated automated people mover provided by Bombardier. All of those coaches for that particular train have been delivered and put in place. And each of those 5 carriages will provide a total capacity for 300 passengers on each train, and that'll mean eliminating a lot of the walking distances currently associated with people travelling through Terminal 1. 207 check-in desks, which is a 15% increase in Terminal 1, 4 oversized baggage desks, inline security screening, so no more having to put your whole baggage through machines before you get to the check-in desk. That's been in place now. 30% increase in the space for immigration, increases in the security flow rates, so hopefully we will be enhancing dramatically the passenger experience. As a first, I think on the south side of the airport, we'll be going to a fully open gate concept. We've argued with the airlines for some time that I don't think customers prefer the idea of being corralled into a gate room and have to wait for the aeroplane there. And we would much rather you are in our shops and restaurants having a nice time and spending lots of money with us. So we could do a show of hands who prefers the open gate room concept to the closed gate concept, but I think I'm hoping that I can take it as read that open gates allow more freedom to people, and that genuinely is what people want. 20 new restaurants, and I mentioned some of these are world firsts in terms of putting these restaurants into the airport space. We've got a CNN cafe with news and current affairs clearly part of that. If there's any other members of the press who would also like to talk to me about concepts in the airport, then I'll direct you to our commercial team. Is always happy to help.
Maybe we'll have a Bloomberg cafe?
We'll have a Bloomberg cafe, absolutely no problem at all. Just show me the money. Wolfgang Puck is, for the first time, I think, in the Middle East, putting a restaurant in, and we've got a concept on the Dubai airport stand and some great coffee, so I know exactly how to appeal to your hearts. Please come and see us and have a look at the menus that they are creating. We've got Pret-a-Manger, which is a first for the Middle East, and I think we're all looking forward to that. Those of us who don't really have much time to grab and go, that'll be a great attribute to add. And all the F&B will be in the central atrium area, so you can sit and enjoy your cup of coffee while you stare longingly at that jewellery or that watch that you've wanted for ages. And all the gates will be less than 10 minutes walk from that central atrium area. So completely different way of rethinking the airport product, and we do believe it will be a real wow when you see it. And hopefully we can try and conduct some tours perhaps before we put it into service, so you can come and see exclusively for yourselves. Now we have 9 airline lounges spread over nearly 7,000 square metres, including 5 airline lounges. And I'm pleased to say some of our airline partners have really stepped up to the plate for this, and they're now putting in some pretty good, up-to-the-minute designs and innovation into their lounge product. Also, when you look at the ultimate capacity, what's going to happen when Concourse D is finished? Well, I'm afraid we are out of space. In SP 2020, we originally thought we were going to be able to accommodate 90 million by 2020. But when you look at what our airlines have achieved and what Dubai has encouraged our airlines to achieve, the forecasts now are running more than 20% above where we said we would be by 2020. So now we've got to somehow find more capacity without the space to build any more terminal facilities. A larger processing facility in the centre and an extension to Checkin. So this is going to be a very significant project over the next few years, but